a highway, then heaven is a bus stop. Been waiting for a minute there, or has it been forever? 'Cause dying don't agree with me.
Hey, this is the Board Ghost Primer for The Fool's Journey from designer Cheyenne Wall Grimes and published by Glitter Cat's Fine Amusement. We picked up our copy at our friendly local game store, specifically the 20-sided store in Brooklyn. You can actually purchase a print copy or the PDF online, and we'll have links to that at boardghost.com and in our show notes. This is a lightly competitive storytelling game where the players jockey to manipulate a timeline of tarot cards and then take turns telling a story interpreting that timeline. Game is for 2 to 4 players. You'll need the rules, a standard tarot deck, and a pool of 6-sided die, somewhere around 36. And if you want some paper and utensils to take notes, do it. Setup. So the first thing you do is separate the tarot deck into its 4 suits and the major arcana. So each player takes a suit. Phase 1. In this phase, you build the journey track. You put the Fool on the left, and over on the other end of the timeline, you put Death on the right. You shuffle the remaining arcana and deal 7 of those between Fool and Death, with the players taking turns placing them one at a time, choosing which order they go in between the Fool and Death. You're going to place another 4 just off to the side, and those will be your pool of cards to replace or pull from in the subsequent shuffling rounds. Each player can then either replace a card in the journey track with a pool card or discard one of the pool cards and refill that space with a card from the Arcana deck. Phase 2, this is after you've done your setup. This is the bidding phase, where players take turns announcing which cards they wish to affect and putting a card face down as their bid from their hand of suit cards of tarot cards. Other players then have a chance to counterbid. So as long as there's a counterbid, the initial player can increase their bid and so on. So it just goes back and forth until people want to stop bidding. When there's no more counterbidding, you reveal the cards, see who has the highest total, and the winner gets to affect the chosen card or not affect it if that was their wish. So if you wanted to not have something change, you could have bid to make that happen. The initial bidder gets a D6. So when it's your turn, you get a D6 right away when you start bidding, and the winning bidder gets a D6. So if you win your own bid, you'll end up with 2 D6 for that round. But if you don't win your bid, you'll just get your first D6 and someone else will get the other one. You then pass the initial bidding to the next player and continue until someone runs out of cards so they can't bid anymore. You can only affect Fool or Death by winning a hand using one of the 4 face cards from your suit. So the Page, the Queen, the King, and the Knight. This is also true if you want to affect another card to move it before or after the Fool or after Death in this timeline. Bid cards are discarded at the end of the bid. If you win a bid, you can move that card in the timeline, replace it with one in the pool, or in some cases, remove it entirely. Phase 3, players take all the D6 they accumulated, roll them, and compare the totals. The one with the highest total gets to be the first storyteller. Players take turns telling their version of the story based on the timeline. So they interpret the timeline starting with the Fool or whatever the first card is and tell a tale. It can be a literal tale of the Fool did this and they went to the tower and you went to the star or whatever, or it can be a larger like 20s noir interpretation. You can take a pick of how you want to interpret this and what tale this arc that you've bid for tells. So, and then you just take turns each telling and kind of one-upping each other in the storytelling. The gameplay's pretty quick, has a little light competition paired with that storytelling. When we played, we built a framing device and tweaked the rules a little bit for our storytelling in that we had a framing for the bidding section, so it had a little bit of a narrative bent to it and had some characters for the bidding. And then we told a single story by having one person play the setup, one person play the body of the tale, the last person taking the ending of the tale, and you could choose which position you wanted depending on the dice roll that you got. So again, The Fool's Journey was designed by Cheyenne Wall Grimes, published by Glitter Cat's Fine Amusements. We got ours at the local game store, and you can pick your copy up online. We'll have links to that at boardghost.com. That's the primer for The Fool's Journey. Go listen to our playthroughs of it.